is central to what gives your life meaning and purpose. It is a part of your mission and your vision. It is integral to your evolution as a human being and very likely as a spiritual being. For me, coaching is a sacred calling, and that's the way I'm approaching today's topic. Furthermore, I am assuming that we are now in a paradigm shift in the evolution of our species, and that coaches have a critical role to play in that shift. This paradigm shift involves healing and awakening, and coaches are the healers and shamans, the priests and priestesses, the sorcerers and wizards of the 21st century. We are agents of transformation, or if you will, light workers. We are here to assist in a new birth of consciousness, a new way of being, a new way of perceiving. So, with that said, I want to lead us in a short meditation. And the purpose of the meditation is to have us settle and begin to come into relational resonance. So as we begin to connect in our group field, because we are generating a group field, we will begin to come into greater coherence. And that will amplify the power of our understanding and the power of our being together and relating together. So, the invitation is to find your seat, to find a position that allows you to be alert and at ease. And so taking a moment just to let your body find that position that allows you to be alert and relaxed. And letting your weight drop down onto your sitting bones. And noticing where the center of gravity in your body is. And maybe allowing it, if it feels comfortable, to let it drop a little lower. Surrendering to gravity. Letting Mother Earth hold you. Feeling your weight on your seat. And this is one of the principal ways of grounding. of connecting to the earth. And it's also a way to begin to embody more fully. So allowing yourself to occupy your body to the degree that that's comfortable right now. Feeling the volume of this physical vessel. Supported by your seat. And bringing your awareness to your hearing. Noticing any sounds that might be nearby, including my voice. Noticing any sounds that might be a little further away. Noticing any sounds that might be in the distance. And noticing that your awareness can extend beyond even the most distant sounds. Noticing that your awareness is a field extending in all directions, and that sounds are discrete events that occur in that field of awareness. That the field itself is spacious, quiet, still. And yet there are these sensations in the form of sounds that arise in that field. And they arise and change and pass away, and the field remains. Other sensations may arise. Emotions, thoughts, impulses, all may arise. And yet the field of awareness, the field of awake awareness remains. Notice the quality of that field, its spaciousness, its stability, its ever-presence. And while resting in that field, notice that you are grounded through your seat, that you are embodied and also awake and aware. And let's see, as we begin to make a transition, if you can remain aware of your groundedness in this field of awareness as we prepare to join our circle of learning and love. And so at your own pace, making the transition from inside into relationship. Perhaps opening your eyes into soft focus. And I would love people to turn on their camera so I can see them. And so that we can be in visual relationship. What is more relational than coaching? And everything I have to say today, dear colleagues, is really about relationship. One more warning before I launch into the meat of my presentation, which is I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. But it might be helpful to hear what I have to say from an external authority as a way of reminding yourself that what you already know is actually central to your journey of healing and awakening. So the title and theme of my talk is The Awakened Coach. And the explanatory subtitle is A Self-Guided Journey into Healing and Awakening. A self-guided journey into healing and awakening. And I'm going to define those terms, and I'm going to offer you some tips. And I'm going to suggest that the nature of the journey really you are the principal guide of the journey. You can find others to support you, but you're the principal guide. So healing and awakening are parallel processes. Both are intrinsic to the evolutionary journey that the soul takes. Think of the soul as an arrow of light or energy that has chosen to incarnate, to blend with the human body as part of its evolutionary progress toward full realization. Becoming human, however, exposes us to hurt and trauma, hence the need for healing. Incarnating also involves forgetting our origins in the spirit world, hence the need for awakening. Healing is about resolving the past. It is about integrating the parts that have been split off or fragmented because of hurt or trauma. We have pushed these parts into the shadow, into the unconscious. But those fragments are always there, sending messages through various forms of discomfort or distress, be it physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. To heal, we must be with the distress, to feel it and hold it without judgment. This is self-compassion and the beginning of a long process of integrating our rejected fragments. Healing means becoming whole. To become whole, we must integrate all our rejected parts, including the parts of us that have rejected other parts. Put another way, it is about the unconditional loving acceptance of our rejected parts and welcoming them into our lives. Until we do this, my friends, until we do this, we are stuck in the past. We are frozen at the time of the original hurt. When we bring the warmth of compassion, we melt the frozen past, and what was frozen begins to flow. Our life begins to have more fluidity. The energy that was bound becomes fluid, and we come more fully into the present. We are now available to ourselves, to others, and to the world. Healing is a journey not into perfection, but into wholeness. Wholeness is a state of harmony, a state of coherence. Our energetic signature changes as we become whole. It becomes more coherent, more harmonious, more refined. We align with the Tao, with the way of natural or divine law. We align with the universe. We align with ourselves and with reality with a capital R. That is healing. Awakening is coming fully into the present. So healing is about resolving the past. Awakening is about coming into the present. An awakened being, and this is possible for everyone here, an awakened being has learned to be here now. Not stuck in the past, not worrying about the future. When we are fully here now, we experience a fundamental sense of okayness. Nothing is missing. We are fine the way things are, even when there is enormous turbulence on the surface of our lives. Below the surface is a fundamental sense of okayness, that things are really okay despite the storm on top. This does not mean we are dissociated or distant. The great spiritual bypass discovered by many. We are engaged. We're fully present, yet calm at the core. Awakening is dimensional. That is, it occurs on a continuum. There are degrees of presence. There are degrees and stages of awakening. We get glimpses on the path of awakening, and we can increase the frequency and the duration of those glimpses. That's what a spiritual practice is about. But first, we might want to know, what are some of the markers of awakening? So I'm going to give you some markers, some signposts that you might be able to identify and amplify by savoring, by sinking into. So the chief marker is this fundamental, this deep sense that everything is okay despite whatever is happening at the surface. This is something that lives inside you. The persistent sense of discontent that 99% of people feel, whether they feel it in the foreground or the background, that disappears with this fundamental sense of okayness. That sense that things would be better if only they were different in one particular way. If only I had a partner. If only I didn't have a partner. If only I had this much money. If only I lived somewhere else. All that goes away. We still have preferences, but the sense that we need to fix something to be okay is gone. That's what's cool. We realize there are still changes we can make, but we don't have to fix things just to be okay. I'm sure some of you have noticed, like, oh, if I just do this, if I just accomplish that, everything will be different. Well, you achieve whatever it is you set out to achieve, and it might feel good for a while, but then there's something else that comes in. Well, if only I had this other thing. If only I could achieve this, things would be okay. And you can watch some of the most successful people in the world just doing this again and again and again. So you no longer have to take one more course to become the coach you want to be. You have a sense of calm and inner peace. Those inner voices that you're probably pretty familiar with, they get quieter. Reactivity and defensiveness begins to fall away and eventually disappear. The inner critic is greatly diminished and eventually falls silent. Your emotional life begins to change. The balance between positive and distressing emotion shifts. Distressing ones disappear much more quickly when they do appear. And the balance toward more positive emotions increases. And as all this is happening, there is you begin to develop an internal sense of safety. So it's not dependent on external conditions. There's a sense of fundamental well-being, and that fundamental well-being rests on a sense that you're basically safe. And safety is an inner experience. Our society is doing things all the time to make us safer, quote, safer. Is it making anyone safer? In my opinion, it is not. In fact, people are feeling more unsafe because there's so much emphasis on safety. So you can begin to notice changes in the body. Muscles are relaxed. There can even be a sense of ease and pleasure in the body, though people with persistent pain can still enjoy fundamental well-being. The face begins to relax. Eyes are alert and soft. The voice is relaxed. The throat is open and the pitch is lower. You can notice these things in your clients as they begin to calm and come into alignment. The breath is easier, slower, and deeper. And we begin to notice when we're we begin to see emotions arise, and we don't get swept away by them. We can feel the sensations. Emotions have signature sensations. We can feel them without acting them out. We don't ignore them. We still feel them, but we don't need to act them out because we're more spacious. So I'd like to remind us of our meditation. So remember what it was like to be sitting in an alert, open, relaxed posture with your weight coming down onto your seat and your awareness wide open. So some of you may have thinking parts and learning parts and note-taking parts. You just notice those parts are maybe striving a little. But what if you land in your seat and open wide? Maybe you could take less notes, or maybe even no notes, and just enjoy the experience. And so as you begin to awaken, the energy becomes more fluid and easy. You may experience tingling. And the following qualities begin to show up: a sense of spaciousness, a sense of groundedness, feeling present. And this whole summit has been about the importance of presence. When we're present, we're grounded, we're embodied, we have access to that awake awareness, and our heart is available for that sacred and healing connection with another human being. And so what happens is we become available for what wants to emerge in this moment. I'm going to say more about that shortly, because that's where the magic of healing, awakening, and transformational coaching occurs. So as we begin to move on to the very early spots on that continuum of awakening, there's this growing sense, wow, everything's okay. There's much less attachment to outcome. You know how our coaching sessions go better when we're not attached to the outcome. We have little or no judgment of ourselves or of others. And that nagging sense of discontentment, that sense that life is better on the other side of that traffic light that's just about to turn red, and you rush a little to get through it, that disappears. Where you are right now is okay. First we get glimpses, and then there's persistence. So the path to awakening often begins with an occasional glimpse of the states I've been describing. But as we stay on the path, the glimpses increase in frequency and in duration until they become persistent. That is, they stay, they don't go away. And yet, there's more to do. We can continue to deepen into that sense of fundamental okay. There's always more to explore. So that's awakening. Why are healing and awakening important to us as coaches, practitioners, and facilitators? Everything that I'm about to say about one-on-one coaching applies is even more true to groups, because everything is amplified in a group. Coaching, as we all know, is a relational process. When we sit with another human being, a relational field forms. It's like a third entity. The more healed and awake the coach, the more coherent their individual field will be. And the more coherent the relational field, the field that coach and client co-create, that field will also be more coherent. We are giving the client, when we're coherent, we are giving the client something to attune to, something to co-regulate with. Their nervous system naturally finds and begins to synchronize with our nervous system. Millions of years of evolution have made us deeply social creatures, like all the other mammals. The nervous system of mammals naturally and easily know how to engage another nervous system of the same species. Indeed, we can do this across species, as people who own dogs and cats can tell you. All humans have neural structures that simulate the actions, the emotions, and the thoughts of other people. Those structures are the biophysical foundation of empathy, which gives us insight into what others are feeling and thinking. Our bodies, as many of you know, are our principal consultants when working with a client or a group. My body gives me more and better information than my brain. Doesn't mean my brain isn't useful. It simply means that the body has more information, a lot more. And thus I treat my body as a first responder, a primary consultant, and the brain as an adjunctive consultant. So as the client attunes to us, the relational field becomes larger and more coherent. Now, the real magic begins. When both client and coach are attuned to a coherent field, they have joined a field of knowledge that is greater than the sum of its parts. When both coach and client are attuned to a coherent field, the coherent relational field, they have joined a field of knowledge that is greater than the sum of its parts. It is from this field that what neither coach nor client could have imagined emerges. The evolutionary future, which is creative, healing, and awakening, emerges from that relational field. This is the true magic of coaching. To perform this magic at the highest levels requires healing and awakening, because your whole system creates that field. It's not a conscious decision. It's what happens as you heal and awaken and become more coherent and harmonious as an energetic as an energetic being. Indeed, healing and awakening are critical to answering your calling at the highest level. If we do not go on the journey of healing and awakening, we will be looking at the world and our clients through distorted lenses. In other words, we'll be looking at our clients through out-of-date survival patterns, patterns that we developed while we were still largely in the single digits in terms of age. We will be essentially blinded by our unhealed wounds. Our energetic fields will be filled with knots of constricted energy that will activate rather than calm our clients and interfere with the clarity of our perception. We will not co-create a coherent relational field that holds what wants to emerge. We will not access the magic of our co-creativity. But as we heal and awaken, our energetic fields clarify, which means we are more coherent, transparent, and available. As we heal, we do not need the filters of safety strategies and our personality. The personality is a historical artifact that we create to maneuver, to cope with our hurts and to maneuver in this world. And we need to create a personality in order to survive. So just as we need a body to play in the realm of tables and chairs, we need a personality to negotiate the realm of tables and chairs. The problem is when we think the personality is us. That field of awareness is much closer to your true identity. So as we're able to sort of drop our masks when we're in that sacred relationship with the client, our clients can see us naked as we truly are, awake, aware, and available. And if they can see us, they can see themselves more clearly. We become a non-distorting mirror for them to see their true selves. We all have mirror neurons, for example. So in other words, as we clarify, the client can see themselves more clearly. They can see their awakened nature. They can see their divinity. In a moment, I'm going to offer some obvious pointers that you already know about, but I'm going to offer them anyway. But first, I want to say this is ultimately a self-guided journey. Every person's system is unique and everyone's path is unique. Your history, your constitution, everything about you is unique. And that means that you're going to have to ultimately find your unique path. We each enter the dark wood from a different direction and find our own path through it. That doesn't mean you can't benefit from the many rich teachings and the many skilled teachers that are available. But how you use them is your choice. Be pragmatic. Be very pragmatic. Use what works, drop what doesn't, experiment. If you've been practicing a particular spiritual form for years without results, change it. Try another. Mix and match from different traditions. Find what works for you now. What works for you now may not work later. Keep experimenting, always using what works best for you now. You need to become your own inner consultant, to listen to your body, to cock an ear to that still small voice within. So a crucial part of your self-guided journey to healing and awakening is finding and trusting your own internal voice of authority. So here, as I bring this to a close, here are 3 suggestions to heal and awaken. Develop a program of self-care that includes all 4 dimensions of your humanity. So there are 4 dimensions. The way I look at it is we each have 4 dimensions, which is the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And you want a self-care program that addresses all 4 dimensions. So for the body, very obvious. Get the sleep it needs every night. Eat food that nourishes it, mostly plant-based. And have a conscious program of movement. For the emotions, cultivate positive emotions, especially self-transcendent emotions like awe, reverence, wonder, kindness, benevolence, gratitude, forgiveness. Spend time with people you care about and who care about you. Find or create a community of people who energize you. Spend less time or end relationships with people who deplete you. Just as you want to declutter your living space, you want to declutter your social space. So that's on the emotions. On the mind, well, you're working the mind right now. You're in a learning environment. So you are honoring that. We are lifelong learners. That is how we flourish, by always learning. And spirit, this is crucial. Find what gives your life meaning, something bigger than you, and put your attention there. Attention is your greatest resource. Attention is a form of love. Attention is something you want to spend consciously. It's your most important resource. Simplify your life. Simplify your life. Create an abundance of time. Find a community of people who share your values and vision and who will support you as you support them. So that's the self-care program laid out in 4 dimensions. second suggestion is work with someone who is further along the path than you. This is, in my experience, this is invaluable. I've got someone I see 3 or 4 times a month, and her name is Kristen, and working with Kristen is really valuable to me. But I've also got some very close friends who are also committed to the same things I'm committed to. And we spend a lot of time with each other, and we support each other. Third, join or form a community of people who are committed to healing and awakening. And fourth, develop a program of formal and informal mindfulness. So one of the ways I defined an awakened person is someone who's fully present all the time. And meditation and mindfulness can support that. And I'd like to end with a quotation from a poet and a mystic and a spiritual genius, the Sufi, 13th century, Rumi, who many of you I'm sure have heard of. And here's a line from one of his poems. The soul is here for its own joy. The soul is here for its own joy. So the path of healing and awakening is a joyful path. May it be joyful for you, and may our paths cross. Growing up is part of healing. And what we need to do is to bring compassion to those younger parts of ourselves that, because of trauma, have been frozen in the past. They're stuck. Their energy is constricted. And so we bring the warmth of compassion to those parts so that they can heal, so that they can feel our own benevolent gaze and begin to relax. And they don't necessarily have to grow up themselves, but they do need to release their burdens of pain. And when they do, some of those young parts can then make available to our own internal systems their gifts. And so young parts carry the gifts of innocence, wonder, a sense of magic. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Desmond Tutu, the former Archbishop of South Africa, or the Dalai Lama, or seen them together. They both are awakened beings who are in touch with their healthy, healed child parts. They can bring this wonderful sense of almost childlike joy and innocence, and then go back to discussing very serious things. He allows an emotion like joy to arise in his system, and then he radiates that out to the world. I was thinking of emotions like anger, contempt, jealousy, things like that we might not want to act out. We can watch the energy of those emotions come up not identify with them. They can kind of peak as we stay with them without judging them, and then they will begin to subside. What I want to do in a coaching situation where emotions are present is help my client come into compassionate relationship with those emotions if they're distressing. And I encourage clients to let, and I encourage myself. I mean, what I do with my clients, I do with myself, is to let the energy of that emotion to move. So that would be an emotion like anger or sadness or fear. For emotions like joy, clients often suppress that emotion, and I encourage them to actually feel it and let it ramify through their internal system and change them. I have neither book nor podcast, but I do have courses, and you can go to my website, which is bridgetothedivine.com. I think we all have a piece of the puzzle, but we don't. No one of us has all the pieces. But the way I'm thinking about it includes exactly the kinds of things that you're saying. To go to sort of the 30,000 foot level, the high level, the paradigm shift is about a shift in consciousness. It's a shift in understanding who we are and how we understand our humanity. And if you read newspapers, listen to the news on the radio, or watch it, video versions of it, that's all about the old paradigm. You don't ever hear about the new paradigm in those venues. Coaching, I believe, came into existence. I mean, I think its deeper spiritual purpose is to assist in this shift in consciousness that involves healing and awakening. I think everyone here, I don't think there would be an exception. We are all, those of us who are here are called to be spiritual adults. We're called to be who we truly are so that we can support other people in becoming who they truly are. And I see that as a two-track process. There's an American Buddhist nun who has the wonderful name of Pema Chodron. I love that name. And she says, we heal ourselves so that we can help others to heal. And we help others to heal so that we can heal ourselves. So it's one hand washing the other. And I think, Bronwyn, it's the realization that intractable political problems cannot be solved at the political level. They can't be solved militarily. They cannot be solved economically. They cannot be solved with our amazing technology. They can only be solved with a change of consciousness. Is the following exercise, is to have her say, when she's not feeling compassionate, this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of the human condition. So the first sentence, this is a moment of suffering, is a moment of mindfulness. It's a moment of attention. In a sense, and your client doesn't need to know this, Mel, it's a moment of self-love. because we're actually bringing our attention to our suffering. This is a moment of suffering. So that's noticing, that's mindfulness. And mindfulness begins to bring the balm of compassion. The next sentence is, suffering is part of the human condition. That is connecting. That says, oh, I'm participating in the human condition. We're no longer alone. We're beginning to connect. And connect is one of my definitions of love. If your client is then willing to go one step further, she could say, may I be kind to myself? May I be kind to myself? You know, she could imagine a child suffering and how she would go to that child. And we're asking her to do that to herself so that she can become a better agent of helping others, actually. So my third answer is actually to attribute the source of what I just said, which is Kristin Neff. And Kristin is spelled with 2 I's, and Neff is Neff. And her book is called Self-Compassion. She's an American psychologist, and her specialty is compassion. And she and a man named Chris Germer have created something called the Center for Self-Compassion. I think that's it. You can look it up. But I recommend the book to all of you. And Mel, when your client's ready, I might recommend it to her too. When I was getting trained as a coach, one of my trainers, a wonderful woman called Virginia Kellogg, I came into our certification class and I said, Virginia, I know it's my turn to coach in front of the group today, but I'm just feeling too raw. And she said, coach from the raw place. And that was one of the best and biggest, most lasting learnings I ever had. And it sounds like that's one of the gifts that these people have given you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your being here. And a little special shout out to the people from my own coaching community who came. Thank you for showing up. It really warmed me.